This is
Hi,
Bill.
everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Happy Sunday. Happy Valentine's Day Sunday.
This is Eagle. This is Julia. And this is Spirit from Spirit.
Out your mouth.
Who's this?
Spirit.
What is it? What's the circle?
Spirit.
Spirit, Spirit, Spirit.
Yes.
And this is Bill. And this is Spirit. And this is Spirit the pterodactyl. And this is Spirit who?
The horse.
Horse. Spirit the Spirit. What is this?
Bye.
You said it's a pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl and a pony.
Bye.
Can you tell them bye?
Bye.
So see
Bye.
you next week.
See you next week.
Okay, go.
See you Thursday.
Thursday, you're going to see him on Thursday.
No,
We'll see Molly. I'll see Molly Grubbs.
You might see her. All right, at gymnastics. All right.
Today?
No, Thursday.
Thursday?
All right, get your horse.
Do I go something?
Yes. All right, tell him bye. You can come tell him what Friday is.
What?
What's Friday? What happens on Friday?
What?
What happens? It's your...
Birthday.
Yep, and how old will you be?
5.
Yep, and you drop the horse. All right.
I got Spirit.
Okay.
Some Spirit.
All right, go play.
I got Spirit.
All right. I'm going to try to make this a little bit shorter today. I don't think it's as long as the previous ones, but as Austin just said, it's birthday week. Even though his birthday is Friday, we celebrate every day, apparently. So we went and got a birthday cake today, and he picked out his birthday cake. We got the candles. So I'm running a little late, so I'm going to try to get this out before we all meet for game night in a little bit. But it's going to be a little rushed. If not, I'll send it out either during game night or after game night, but you all will get it. So today we're talking about the man who touched Elisha's bones. And this is talking about a second chance at life. And the main passage, the main verse is just 2 verses this week. You find it in 2 Kings chapter 13, verses 20 and 21. So I find that interesting too, is we just usually when we do this, we have 3 or 4 chapters we reference or multiple verses. This is 2 verses. So to me that stands out that even though it is 2 small verses, you can make a complete devotional out of it. You can learn so much just from 2 verses. Now there's a lot around these 2 verses, and we'll touch a little bit on that, but the main bulk of the lesson is 2 verses, and it's about the man who touched Elisha's bones. That's what those 2 verses say, and what happened. That's just it. Very simple. So before we do that, we're going to talk about who Elisha was. And Elisha was a prophet, and he was the prophet that was often referred to as the man of God. And he was Elijah's successor. So we talked about Elijah last week. This week we're talking about Elisha. And Elisha was in Elijah's footsteps. And for 8 years, the Bible tells us for 8 years, Elisha worked with, was next to, was the right-hand man, whatever you want to put, the Bible says worked with. But he was right there, learning from Elijah, learning everything he could before Elisha passed. And Elisha's one request, when Elijah was nearing death, he asked Elisha, what do you want? If you could get anything, what do you want? Kind of reminds me of Solomon. God asked Solomon, you tell me anything you want, and it's granted. Whatever you want, you've got it. This is what Elijah tells Elisha. He says, you tell me what you want, and I'll do my best to get it. Pretty much you're going to get it if you ask for it. And these 2 men asked, Solomon asked for wisdom. Out of everything in the world, he asked for wisdom. Elisha asked for Elijah. He said, I want a double portion of your spirit. I want a double portion of all that you have done, all that you have learned, all that you have taught me. To me, that says a great thing about Elijah is that Elisha wants to be so much like him, wants to make sure that when he's following his footsteps that he does things right, that he asks for a double portion. And we see that in verses 9 through 13, 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 9 through 13, where Elijah is asking Elisha, what do you want? And Elisha says, I want a double portion of your spirit. So after this has happened, Elijah dies. Okay? And of course, Elisha was granted this wish, or granted his request. So for 50 years after this, Elisha remained faithful to God. So he isn't one who got what he wanted and then strayed. He did stay faithful to God and do what God wanted. But eventually, Elisha got old, like we all do. Eventually, we're all going to get old. We're all going to die. Now, this Elisha became sick. Some of us may get sick, some of us may not, but we're all going to die. Elisha grew old. He got sick. He died. So, under Elisha, his right-hand man, his guy underneath him was Joash. And he obviously, since he was next in line, or Elisha's right-hand man, he was the one who was going to step up and take Elisha's role when Elisha passed on. Kind of like when Elisha stepped up and took Elijah's role. This is Joash's turn. So we have Joash in control. It's time to bury Elisha. Elisha was buried. We had the burial. We had whatever ritual they did back then. He's buried. Life goes on, right? Everybody's back to normal way of life. Things are going on. About a year later, there is another man. We don't know his name. We don't know who he was. We don't know if he was good, bad, whatever. He had died. We don't know what he had died of. He may have died of old age. He may have died of sickness. He just died. He was being buried. Okay? It was his funeral day. It was his day for them to say goodbye, for the family, for the people to pay their respects. In today's terms, that's what they were doing. Well, as they were doing this, the men who were carrying this man to his grave, the Moabites come up. They're ready to fight. These guys see the Moabites. They do not want to be killed. They drop the body and run. Better yet, they just toss the body. There's a grave close to them. They just toss the body. They're feared for their life. They want to run. They want to get out of there. They don't care. None of them were related to this man, so you'd think they'd have a little bit more respect. But there again, you've got to know they're feared for their life. They're going to die if they stay there and carry on and bury him properly. So they're there. They just toss this guy to the side and they hightail it out of there. They're gone. Well, it just so happens that this man fell upon Elisha's bones. Now, like we said, Elisha has been dead over a year. He's probably got the decaying process already going on. This man just happens to perfectly fall right on top of him. When that happens, the man gets life back into him, and he stands up, and he goes about his way. The men who, I'm going to call it a drop and run, the men who dropped and ran, see this. Now, what do you think is going through their mind? Me, I would be terrified. I would be terrified. I don't think I'd be able to move. I don't know. Maybe I would be able to move and run in the other direction. I would be scared. It would just, I don't even know how to describe what I would do. I would panic. It would scare me. You got all these people watching. Even the Moabites are watching. Like, this man is dead. He was thrown into the grave with Elisha. Even though they didn't know it was Elisha, it just so happened to be Elisha's grave. Now he's up, and he's a normal human being again. That's all we know about this man. We don't know how long he lived after this. We don't know if he was a bad man in the beginning and changed into a good man. If he was a good man, we don't know what this man was. We just know the miraculous thing that happened is that he was brought back to life. So, what can we learn from this man? What can we learn from a man who is nameless? A man who we don't know what his reputation is? A man that just happened to land in the wrong grave? What can we know about him? The first thing is we must not waste second chances. This man was given a second chance at life. You can't waste it. If we're given a second chance, and I really like this point, because I'm like, okay, we're not going to die and come back. Well, we know that. We're not going to be given that type of second chance. We're not going to be buried and then all of a sudden we're just going to raise up one day and walk around and, live life normal like we haven't been, that we had never died. So I'm thinking, where is this book going? What are they talking about? Then they made 3 points. 3 situations 3 relationships that we do have second chances at. And are we taking them? What about a friendship? Either a friendship that's gone wrong, a friendship that needs mending, a friendship that needs to be blossomed, be worked on. What if we were to have a second chance? What if we blew our first chance of introducing that person to Christ that we worked with, or our neighbor, or the grocery store clerk, or whoever? What if we blew that chance, but 2 weeks later we run into that person again? Or we're in the same situation as that person. Do we take that second chance to then talk to them? What about the second chance with family? All families have problems. All families have squabbles. All families have disagreements. Do we let that disagreement go on for years and years and years and turn into hatred? Or do we take the second chance to mend it, to fix it? What about our relationship with God? This one, to me, is different because, yes, we sin every day. So it's almost like every day that we wake up, we have a second chance, in my opinion. We have the day to start over. What's in the past is in the past. You can't change it. You can only change from going forward what's going to happen forward. So to me, every day I get a second chance. Okay, yesterday was really bad. I yelled a lot. I did things I shouldn't do. I said something I shouldn't have said. I hurt somebody's feelings. I wrote the text out of anger, or I just really didn't want to go see that person, so I made sure I was busy so I wouldn't have to deal with it. It's the next day. It's my second chance. What am I going to do that day? Am I going to repeat that? Am I still going to have the same attitude as the day before? Am I still going to write those ugly texts? Am I still going to not make time for other people? My second chance. What are we doing with our second chances? Second chances don't come often. Now to do that, to take our second chance, take advantage of it with our friendships and our family and our relationships with God, we have to correct our mistakes. We have to admit we were wrong. We have to admit we messed up, and we've got to correct them. Then we might even have to adjust our attitudes about some things, and we might even have to change our behavior. But the whole thing is, it's worth it. Your second chance is worth it. This guy's second chance was worth it. Hopefully he made the best out of it. He had a second chance at life. When we get a second chance, do we take advantage of it? Someone that in the Bible that had a second chance and changed his life was Jonah. Perfect example of a second chance. He was told to go do something. He was told to go to Nineveh. I don't want to go. I'm going to hide from God. I ain't going to listen to God. It don't matter. Well, guess what? He changed his mind quickly. It took sitting in the fish. It took praying. It took 3 days. But when he had his second chance, when that fish spewed him out, guess what? He went and did what was right. He corrected his mistakes. He changed his behavior. He went and took advantage of the second chance. Do we take advantage of our second chance? The second thing is a blessing sometimes comes when all hope is gone. God is gracious and sends us blessings when we need them the most. And sometimes we don't see those blessings when everything is going well. When everything is hunky-dory, when there's no problems, when there's nothing in the house that's broken, when all the vehicles are working well, when everybody's healthy, when there's no drama in the workplace, when there's just peace all around with family, with friends, with whatever, everything's good. Sometimes we overlook our blessings. But sometimes in the midst of those hard times, that's when we find our blessings. And that has been a big eye-opener for me. I don't want to say it was a trial. I don't want to say that all my hope was gone. We weren't to that point yet. But most of you all know Matt had eye surgery and my brother died. Same day. We got hit. Double whammy. Hard. Do you think I was counting my blessings then? Wasn't. But guess what? I got a text message. I had someone come on, ring my doorbell and bring food. I had someone send a card. I had a phone call. Matt had phone calls. We had people come sit with us. We had people help with our children. We had people help. That's when I sat down and I thought, in this hard time, when I've got a husband who is down, who can't do anything, when I can't be with my family at this exact time, when we're stressing on how to get there and get the funeral and do all that because it was unexpected, we have blessings. We had people checking on us every day. We had people making sure I didn't have to worry about what are we going to cook for dinner. It was at my doorstep. It was at my doorstep. I had people every day. I still have cards coming in. People are still thinking about you. It means a lot. When you're out and about, hey, we heard this was going on. We're sorry to hear this. That's when I sat down. I thought, I haven't really been thankful for these blessings. These blessings hit me. I'm in my hardest. I'm in my hole. A lot of stuff is happening. That's when God's blessings shine the most if we pay attention. If we pay attention. Do we realize God is blessing us? Are we thankful for that? The third thing that we can learn from this man is a righteous life can affect someone dead in sin. People can find new life by coming in contact with Christians. We can encourage people to know God. The way we live, the people dead to sin, the people of the world, the way we live affects them. Are we shining our Christian light? Are we doing what a Christian should do? Are we encouraging them? All those examples that I just mentioned that has happened over the last 2 weeks and are continuing to happen, that's showing the Christian light. A simple text that says, hey, I'm thinking of you. A simple, when you're out and about and you see somebody, hey, just want to let you know I was thinking of you today. Simple things we can do. They're letting their light shine. Are we as Christians letting our light shine? The last thing we can learn from this man is the dead man was given new life by our Almighty God. Had nothing to do with Elisha. Had nothing to do with Elisha being a prophet, being a man of God. Elisha was dead. He was as dead just like we're going to be dead one day. There was no life in him. He wasn't working miracles. This was all God. All God. There was nothing miraculous about Elisha at this point. He was just another human being that had been buried in the ground. But with God, we are given a new life. Are we ready to take that? Are we living the life now that we will have the new life with Him in heaven? Are we making those steps to get there? Are we doing what we are called to do? And she had a really good paragraph in this book. So I'm going to read the last paragraph and then we will be done. So much for being short. Sorry, I see I'm already at 17 minutes and counting. But we don't know much about this man who is restored to life. We don't know his family or his hometown or anything about his life. However, from his story, we can be reminded that our God is a God of second chances. He is willing to bless us even in our darkest hours, that we can touch the lives of those dead in sin, and that our God is mighty and willing to give us new life as well. So again, back to what I said at the beginning, 2 short verses. Paula's summary, the blunt summary, a dead man just dumped in someone's grave, and look what we can learn from it. We learn that when we have a second chance, we take it. We learn to, God always blesses us to count our blessings, and to be there for other people and take advantage of that second chance. Next week, we're going to talk about King Manasseh, the boy who wore a crown. So we are going to talk about that, and I hope everybody has a great week. And thank you for listening, and I will see you all here next week.